everyone, and welcome to the Anne Frank Trust's event for Anti-Bullying Week, our One Kind Word online learning event. We're so delighted that we've got schools across the country joining us today, and we're also going to be joined by the author Onjali Raúf and the poet Shagufta Iqbal. And just at the moment, you might see in the corner of your screen, there's a wee QR code, and that's just for our Slido, and the Slido pin will appear across the screen right now, slido.com, and then that's the pin, and that's for any teachers can join that, and any students that may have mobiles can join that, and you can leave comments for any questions we may ask, or if you've got any questions indeed for us and Onjali and Shagufta. So what are we doing today? What are our aims for today? So today we are marking Anti-Bullying Week and celebrating all the progress that we've been making. And we're also going to acknowledge that there's still issues and still sadly a lot of prejudices today. And we're going to reflect upon and become empowered to challenge all forms of prejudice and discrimination. And that's something that we really feel is really important here at the Anne Frank Trust. And over the course of today, we'll have an interview first with Onjali, and then Shagufta will be leading us all in a workshop, and then there'll be some time at the end to speak to them as well. But first things first, we have a few questions we would like to ask you first. And it'd also be great if we can hear from Onjali and Shagufta when the answers start coming in. So our questions for you on Slido, and you'll be able to vote on these polls on Slido, is first, we'd love to know who has heard of Anti-Bullying Week before. So you can see, you can join us at slido.com, and then it's 482889. So far we've got 100% of people have heard of Anti-Bullying Week. Oh, and I see that a few people are already submitting their questions as well. We'll love to see that too. So it looks as though everyone who has voted on the poll can see has heard of Anti-Bullying Week, which is really, really good to see. And I'm just wondering, when we ask the next question, what sort of answers we'll get for this one. So our next question for you is, who knows what prejudice-based bullying is? So who knows what prejudice-based bullying is? So that's the poll active for you now, so you'll be able to vote on that. Oh, so we've got an even split so far. No. Oh, it's changing as we speak. So we've got quite a lot of people don't know what prejudice-based bullying is. Though our yes bar keeps on moving up and down as we speak. So we've got about a 60-40 split of who knows what prejudice-based bullying is. Oh, spoke too soon. It's beginning to approach 50%. But yeah, so we've got a lot of people who will be learning lots today as well. So we've got sort of almost, I'd say it's about a 60-40 split there at the moment for prejudice-based bullying. But that's what we are here at the Anne Frank Trust. We're all about being a learning organisation. So you'll be learning a lot today as well. So our next question for you is, how important do you think that this week is on a scale of 1 to 5, to 1 being not very important and 5 being very important? So lots of votes for 5, saying that Anti-Bullying Week is a very important week. Almost an even split between 4 and 5 about it being really important. Lots of answers still coming in. I'll give you a little bit more time for answering that. So yeah, it's the clear majority saying that Anti-Bullying Week is a very important week. We've got 60%. Oh, no, it's moving as I speak. So it's about 60%, approximately round about there, for the people that think Anti-Bullying Week is really important. And I'm glad that you think so, because we certainly think that at the Anne Frank Trust. Now, I know a lot of you had said that you weren't quite sure what prejudice-based bullying is. So we're just going to pop a wee explanation of that up on the screen for you just now. So what is prejudice-based bullying? So prejudice, just for those of you that maybe don't know the definition of that word, is prejudice is when you prejudge someone for one part of their identity. So prejudice-based bullying is any type of physical or verbal bullying or cyberbullying that are based on a person's characteristics, so based on a person's identity, including their sexual orientation. So for example, if someone's gay or a lesbian, their religion or belief, their sex, their age, whether they have a disability, and their race. So there's lots of different types of prejudice-based bullying, and that's why it's really important and that we learn about why it's important. Now, we're going to do something slightly different with the next activity, and I am just going to show you a picture at the moment, and then I've got 4 questions for you along with that picture. So when was this photo taken? So take a close look at that photo and decide when you think it was taken. Where was it taken? So where is that photo being taken? So what's the location and maybe what country do you think it's it's been taken in? And what is it showing? And finally, why was it taken? So I'll give you some time to have a wee look at that picture there and decide when you think the photo was taken, where it was taken, what is it showing, and why is it taken? And you can just pop those comments into Slido. So put it in the Q&A section on Slido. So where you're putting your questions that you have for Onjali and Shagufta, if you pop your answers to these questions in that Q&A section as well, that would be wonderful. So remember, when was this photo taken? Where was it taken? What is it showing? And why was it taken? So we've got a few answers coming in. We've got someone saying it was 1940 that they thought it was taken, and someone saying 1890. And another one is saying World War II. Someone's saying that they think it was taken during World War II, and someone popping 1966. Not so close with 1966 and 1890. And then we've got a couple of people saying it was 1939 and 1944. You're getting very close with these answers here. This photo, so this photo was taken in 1939, and I won't quite tell you that yet what it is showing, but where do you think it was taken? So where do we think this photo was taken? So what location? Love to hear what you think for that answer. So we've got someone saying that they think it was taken in a train station, because we can definitely see a train in the background there, can't we? So we know that it was taken in a train station. So now that we've got that, what do we think this photo is showing? So what's happening in this photo? So someone's saying they think it's evacuees in this photo. What else do we think this photo is showing? So we've got someone, and someone's also got their why there as well. So we've got our when, where and why in this answer, that it was taken in 1939 at a train station showing evacuees, and it was taken to remember their children. And someone else is saying 1942, a train station, kids going somewhere with school and to show how people felt. And we actually have someone has popped the correct answer in there, and they're saying it's something called the kinder transport. So this is showing children arriving in the UK on something called the kinder transport. So the kinder transport was organised in late 1938 and 1939, and it was where children from Nazi-occupied countries were sent to the UK so that they could be safe away from the Nazis. And sadly, lots of these children wouldn't see their parents again, but these were Jewish refugee children that were brought to the UK so that they would be safe from the Nazis. So that's what it's showing. Does anyone want to take a guess as to why they think this photo was taken? What do we think? Or actually, we can even, maybe if we bring Onjali and Shagufta in, they could share why they think this photo was taken. Onjali and Shagufta, why do you think this photo was taken?
Well, I think it was taken to probably for a newspaper or for some news channel to raise awareness of the fact that these children need help, and that these are children coming in who deserve to be given, everything that they can be to make them feel welcome.
I agree. I think it's to document what was happening at the time and to really raise awareness so that everyone knows. Particularly if you're looking at World War II, what's kind of the cause of World War II? Why are we here? Why are we involved in this? And I think by seeing these incredibly brave young people coming off the train, sort of almost entirely on their own, I think it kind of really shows you that it's a good cause. This is why we're here. So it's about documenting that. It's about capturing that moment.
I don't think I could have put it better myself. Thank you, Onjali and Shagufta. I would agree with you both that it's all about that documentation of what's happening to these young people, and that it's really important to show and to share. Now, we're going to show you another photo, folks. We're going to show you, so that's quite a historical photo. Now, this photo you can see is now in colour, and we would like you to share when you think this photo was taken, where do you think it was taken? So what are this couple? Where are they? What is it showing? I've maybe given you a little bit of a clue there by saying that's a couple. With what is it showing and why was it taken? So just take a wee look at that photo there, and we just want your answers. So just pop them again in the Q&A section of the Slido, and we'll be able to. So we've got 2017, 2021. There's a clue that it's not 2021. Nobody in the photo's wearing a mask, are they? And we all have masks on public transport now, don't we? And we've also just got the Slido pin at the bottom of the screen there for you. So, and we've got answers like 2016, 2018. So this photo was taken in about 2015. And we've got someone that's taken a guess of where they think this photo was taken. And someone thinks that this was a plane to the UK. And you're close there. Someone else is, there's also someone else that's saying that they think they're on a plane. They've just not said where. So this photo was actually, and someone's saying they thought it was taken in 2000 in Japan. You're not quite right there. So this photo was about 2015, and it was taken on a train to Germany. So what do people think that this photo is showing? So someone thinks it's people travelling to a new country because of a war. And you're right, this is a Syrian refugee couple that are travelling to Germany because they've had to flee their home because it's not very safe. So why do we think this photo was taken? What do we think, folks? I'll give you a couple of minutes there with that one, and I'll come to Onjali and Shagufta again. Why do you think this photo was taken?
Well, it looks to me, so sometimes my team and I get these wonderful images of the refugees that we've helped who have, they want to send proof that they are somewhere safe and that they're heading towards somewhere that's going to make them very happy. So it could be a photo taken on their mobile to send back to someone that they love to show that they're okay and that they're on their way to somewhere safe. Yeah, I think that's my answer. What's yours, Shagufta?
I agree with you, Onjali. I was kind of waiting to see what people will be posting in. So I think I see that it says someone saying to post on social media. Yes, I think it's to share with people and say, look, and you can see from their happy smiles, they look very, very relieved and very sort of, a sigh of kind of relief that they're somewhere safe. So I think showing that they are somewhere safe, showing that they are happy and well looked after is very important. So I think in this day and age when we connect over social media, mobile phones or Instagram or whatever it is, it's a great way of telling people we're safe, we're happy, look, we're in one piece, hooray. So I agree, yes.
Thank you, Onjali and Shagufta. And again, both of you can tell you're both an author and a poet because you put it so beautifully and much better than I could. And I would certainly agree with you both.
Shagufta, definitely.
And so what we are going to share now is we're just going to share, because this is one kind word, and because we've just shown you pictures of refugees, Anne and her family were refugees as well because they had to flee Germany to Amsterdam, and you can see that in the bottom of the screen on the map there because it wasn't safe for them because they were a Jewish family and they had to flee. And because it's one kind word, this is a quote from one of the essays that Anne wrote. So this isn't actually a quote from her diary. This is a quote from an essay that Anne wrote while she was in the secret annex. And she said, "You can always give something, even if it's only kindness." Now, you may be wondering why we're talking about refugees during Anti-Bullying Week. Because sometimes for refugees it can be a really isolating experience, and that's what bullying can do to people as well. Bullying, and especially prejudice-based bullying, can be a really isolating experience for people, and that is part of the reason that we are asking that question of you. So we've now just got, thinking of Anne's quote there, you can always give something even if it's only kindness. We would like you to think of what one kind word or one kind phrase would you say to the people that are arriving in a new country? So what is the kind word or phrase that you would give to these people that are arriving in a new country? So we'll just give you some time to put one kind word or phrase. Oh, we've got lots of, this is lovely. We've got, and Onjali and Shagufta can also see this too. We've got welcome. We've got how you doing? Hi. Oh, good luck. These are really lovely phrases. And love, smile. Really, I'm getting really positive vibes here from all the comments, especially the highs. We've got hi that's got all the eyes.
I like that you are always welcome here and welcome to the country. Stay safe. That's lovely.
And are you okay? That's beautiful.
That is really lots of stay safe, love, nice, kind love. Sup fam. I love this because your personalities are coming through with this. And peace. I'm really loving getting this wee glimpse at everyone's personalities through this. And this word cloud just keeps getting bigger and bigger with lots of one kind words and phrases.
Oh, I like keep going. That's a great one. It reminds me of Dory from Finding Nemo. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Oh, and I've just stay safe and you're safe now.
Safe
These are
here,
just, and you're safe here, don't worry. These are lovely, lovely phrases, and I want you to keep those in mind, because we're now moving on to, you're not going to hear so much from me now. I am just going to be asking the questions, and I know that a couple have came in already. So now we've got some time for our interview with Onjali. So maybe, Onjali, if you want to maybe just start the interview with maybe just sharing a little bit about yourself. I'm sure all our young people have heard of you and have read your books, because I certainly have. I've read The Boy at the Back of the Class and The Lion Above the Door, and I really enjoyed them. So let's hear a little bit about you.
Oh, thank you, Eilith. So I'm Onjali. Hello, everyone. I am a children's author. So my books include The Boy at the Back of the Class, which centers around a refugee boy who comes into a school and just meets one of the most epic people that I think you can meet if you're looking for a friend. And The Night Bus Hero, which centers around a bully who actually bullies a homeless person, but then triggers off all these events that happen, which might just change him. And The Star Outside My Window, which features a little girl who is desperately in need of a friend, who's trying to find her mother's star. And my most recent one, The Line Above the Door, which centers around racist bullying and prejudiced bullying, of a character called Leo, who feels very isolated because he's the only boy who comes from Singapore, who is in his town, who lives in his town in his school. I'm also a human rights activist, so I have two organizations. One is called O's Refugee A Team. So I'm very honored to work with refugees, children that you've seen in that evacuee picture, like refugees who are making their way on trains, trying to get to somewhere safe, who live in northern France, who try to survive in northern France and try to get to their family, trying to get to somewhere safe. So we work with teams across northern France, and also refugees reaching here who need a little bit of help. And I have another charity called Making Her Street, where we work with women and children in particular who are trying to get to somewhere safe as well. So that's who I am, and I'm so honored to be here. And I have to say, the Anne Frank Trust is so incredibly special to me, because I used to, before the pandemic, make an annual pilgrimage to Amsterdam to visit her house there. It's the most beautiful museum, and it gives me much hope for the future. So thank you so much for having me.
No, we're delighted to be joined by you, and actually similar to yourself, I also went with young people that we worked with to the Anne Frank House every year, pre-pandemic as well, and I totally agree with you that it is a really special place and is definitely worth a visit.
Maybe the next time you go out, I can come with you.
Yes, that would be great.
Yeah.
And you can
can't wait to get
folks,
back out.
Yeah, you can do a VR tour if any pupils and teachers are interested. The Anne Frank House's website does let you do a virtual reality tour of the house as well. And just thinking of that, is there any particular, we'll keep it at Anne Frank at the moment, and then we'll move on to the other questions that we've got for you. Is there a particular passage or a quote from Anne's diary that really sort of struck you in particular? We would love to hear that.
I'll share two with you. So one's a quote, and I actually have it framed on my wall, surrounded by flowers. And it is the quote, "How wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world." You don't need to wait. Actually, as that beautiful quote that you also shared, kindness can start revolutions. So I love that quote. And one of my favorite passages from her diary is one that centers on the fact that she doesn't know that she will create ripples of change that go on throughout history following her life. And it's from her diary entry of Saturday, June 20th, 1942, in which she's just starting to write her diary. And she writes, "Writing in a diary is a really strange experience for someone like me, not only because I've never written anything before, but also because it seems to me that later on, neither I nor anyone else will be interested in the musings of a 13-year-old schoolgirl. Oh well, it doesn't matter. I feel like writing, and I have an even greater need to get all kinds of things off my chest." And I love that. I remember reading it when I was about 11 and thinking, wow, she had no idea that her musings that she thought no one would care about would end up going across the world, and that children from across the world and grown-ups from across the world were reading it to get an insight into her heroic soul. So she had no idea that picking up her pen would give us such a beautiful and really, tragic record of what children had to survive at that time, and that she she has opened up worlds and minds in ways that she probably would never have imagined.
That is so lovely to hear. And you've actually picked upon one of our favourite quotes here at the Anne Frank Trust, is the how wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. I think actually a lot of students that have attended an Anne Frank workshop will recognise that quote, because that's also our particular favourite. And you've also picked one of my favourite passages in the book, with the whole writing in a diary being a really strange experience for her.
Do I get a prize?
You do get a prize.
Oh, I get to be here. That is the prize. No, it is two of my favourites. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally get that, because they're two of my favourite bits as well. Now, we've had lots of questions come in just while we were speaking there. And we've got lots of people asking what inspired you about the book. And I know that that's a sort of a question that we had for you as well, is were you inspired by someone to write your novels? And was there anything in particular with the boy at the back of the class and the line above the door that inspired you to write?
Yes. So for anyone who picks up the book or has the book or might borrow the book, if you open it up to the very first page, you'll see that it's dedicated to a baby called Rayhan. So I met this incredible little baby of just a few days old in the refugee camps in northern France. I'd met his mother when she was pregnant with him, and she was living in a very just difficult area. It's just muddy field, freezing, horrible place. No one would ever want to stay there. And I had this picture with him where I was holding him. It's on my desk. But that picture is really, it brings me joy and a great deal of sadness as well, and led to the writing of the book, because when I met him on day one, and just as we were leaving and saying goodbye to him, the police were moving in to destroy everything in that area, which means, passports, tents, sleeping bags, everything gets destroyed. And when refugees see that happening, they run for their lives again. They try to get to somewhere else that's safe. And I knew when I was waving goodbye to them and I saw the police coming that I might never see him or his mother again. And that's sadly been the case. But I couldn't stop thinking about this little baby. And about half a year later, I just had all these questions that wouldn't go away. Like, what was going to happen to him? Was he ever going to reach somewhere safe? Was he ever going to be able to go to a school? If he did grow up in refugee camps in the style that are functioning right now in northern France, and became 8, 9, 10 even, and was separated from his mother, as so many children are being separated, and ended up in a school here in the UK without anyone he knows, not being able to speak the language. Who was going to be his friend? Who was going to want to understand his story and respect his story enough to want to help him? And the idea, this title, The Boy at the Back of the Class, kind of just jumped into my head and wouldn't leave me alone. So I started writing this story. It's kind of my ideal imagining of what baby Rayhan, someone baby Rayhan might meet if he ever does make it into a school and gets to meet someone pretty epic. So yeah, that was my inspiration behind the story, and he was the figure who created that whole world for me.
That is so lovely to hear, and it is, what an epic group of friends in that book, in The Boy at the Back of the Class. What a group of friends. They are the groups of friends that everyone wants in that. And we've got sort of lots of questions, two very similar questions. One from St Gilbert's Primary School in Eccles, I believe, I hopefully have pronounced that right, who've said, what book are you most proud of? And then Phoebe has a very similar question of, what is your favourite book?
So that's like asking me literally which fingers of my hand do I love the most. It's really not going to be answered. I can never answer those questions. So all the books are very different, and all of the books feature characters that are inspired by people I really love, like real life characters. So I can't really choose. It's like asking a mother which child is her favorite. It's not going to happen. And they're all connected to me. They're all a bit different, but I need all of them. But I can tell you the easiest one I found to write, and that was The Boy at the Back of the Class, because it was my very first book. I didn't have a publisher. There were no deadlines. I'm not a fan of deadlines. And no one was chasing me. So I really wrote it for myself, and without worrying about anything. So that was the easiest to write. But I can't pick my favorite because all the characters mean something, mean a huge deal to me. Sorry.
I did suspect it would be like asking a mother who's her favourite.
Yeah.
Who's her favourite child? And we've just got some lovely comments here. We have someone saying, Elliot and Leo saying, we've got someone called Leo in our class.
Really?
And
Oh,
is
wow.
saying, your books are amazing.
Oh,
and
thank you.
Someone has also said, when did you become an author? And when did you write your first book? And how many years have you been doing this? So all very similar questions. So when was it that you first wrote The Boy at the Back of the Class, and how long have you been an author?
So they're two very different questions. So being an author, so for anyone out there who loves writing or loves writing songs or loves illustrating or loves writing a diary like Anne, you will know that it's something that is, whatever else you're doing in your world, you just go back to it all the time because you love it. So I have been writing since about the age of 7 for lots of reasons, but the main one was to annoy my little brother. So my little brother and I, we had a bunk bed for years and years and years. And at 8 o'clock every single day without fail, doesn't matter if it was still light outside or really dark, whatever it was, my mum would switch the light off and make us try and go to sleep. And obviously you can't go to sleep. It's not an automatic thing. So I would spend about an hour really annoying my brother by telling him, making up stories, and I loved it. And what I would then do is if I really liked a story that I'd made up, I would then write it out and keep it and keep it as a story. So I've been writing ever since I was about 7. And with regards to being a published author, this is my first book, got published in 2018, but I've been writing since I was 7. So I have a huge suitcase full of stories that I've been writing for a lifetime. But it's taken about 17 years to get an agent and then get published. So it's a very long journey. But if you love something, you keep going at it. So why not?
That's brilliant. And that's really important for kids to hear as well, that you can start when you're young and you just keep persevering with it. Thinking of your latest book, The Lion Above the Door, it's such a wonderful read, and we've got Leo, who sometimes I don't think he quite realises it, but talking of Anti-Bullying Week, there is some sort of racist-based bullying about this book. In this book. So what was it that sort of inspired you? We've got lots of forgotten heroes, and I particularly liked sort of the forgotten heroes section at the end of the book, that we got to hear their stories. That was so lovely. So what was it that inspired you to write The Lion Above the Door and sort of address that issue of bullying?
So in The Line Above the Door, Leo is very aware that he is, not like everyone else. He's very aware that, everyone stares at him and his dad when his dad comes to get him after school. He's getting bullied at school because of, the fact that he's not like everyone else. He's very aware that his food is different from everyone else's, so all these little things which make him feel like an outsider are picked on by the bullies. And sadly, that's something that I did experience myself when I was growing up, and I know a lot of my friends did as well, and it's something that can continue into your adult world, your adult life as well. So I wanted to create a character who spoke for me, spoke all the things that I wanted to say when I was a kid, and all the thoughts that I had when I was a kid, in particular when it comes to history. So when we talk about World War II, when we talk about the big epic moments in the world's history where there was a battle between good and evil, there's very rarely, I didn't see soldiers like myself in the book. I didn't see women who looked like myself in the books that we studied at school. So Leo is also very aware of that. And he walks into a cathedral on a school trip and sees his exact name on a memorial for World War II soldiers. And he's absolutely desperate to want to know whether this hero came from the same country as his family do and what did he do. So this uncovering, so the back of the book, we have, photos, real footage of amazing soldiers, amazing women and men who did come from all around the world, from Africa, from India, from East Asia, who did have a part to play in the history of the world, and it's just it's something that's been bubbling away for a very long time, and I'm really glad I got to write this story and get it out there. And I really hope that for anyone who picks it up, you will recognize that there are millions of stories, millions of Anne Frank's diaries, and millions of little wonderful heroes of all ages who are waiting to be discovered, and they could be in your own family. So don't be afraid to to go and ask your questions and be a little bit like Leo and hunt down those stories and share them with the world.
That is so lovely, and yeah, I think that's really important. There is sort of in both the because I just recently read The Boy at the Back of the Class and The Line Above the Door, and you've got these very determined young people in these stories that are determined to really do and persevere and work their best. Now, we've had sort of a few questions here asking you about writing books, and someone's asked, how hard is it writing books? And sort of that maybe is related to how long does it take you to write a book as well?
So if you love something, you go back to do it no matter how painful it might be. So I am what is called a starter. I get really excited by an idea. I'll go, I'll dive right into it. I'll start it right away. I stay excited for about 4 chapters. And after that, by the time I've reached about the middle bit, I'm already bored and I want to do something else. So it's really hard to continue. So the middle bit is always a really big struggle for me, just to continue and figure out the story and fight with it and make sure it gets on the page. And then to finish it is wonderful. So it can be really difficult. It depends on how you write and what mood you're in, and all kinds of things impact you. But yeah, I mean, I love it though. I do love it. I love the beginning of it, but I do struggle with the editing part of it because that's very, very difficult. But yeah, once you see it in your hand and it's real, all the grey hairs and the crying makes it worthwhile. So yes, you just have to persevere. But as with any job, there's super easy days and wonderful days, and the super hard days. It just depends on how much you love what you're doing that you get through the hard days.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's lots of pupils that are watching this realizing that they have really good days and sometimes they have hard days,
and
it
that's
must be
totally
lovely.
fine.
Yeah, and it must be lovely for them to hear and understand that yes, as adults also go through this as well. So we're just about coming to the end of this Q&A session before we move on to the workshop with Shagufta. So I'm just going to finish with these 2 questions that are asking just a little bit about you, Onjali, asking sort of what hobbies do you have outside of your writing and all this charity work that you do as well. And also, I really like this question of what was your favourite book when you were a child?
Ooh. So hobbies. I have so many hobbies. I think I have more hobbies than I should because it does keep me from working sometimes. I love traveling. So going to the Anne Frank Museum, traveling the world, meeting new people, hearing stories from around the world, all which inspire me. Love it. I also love building Lego. I do love Lego. If I could have a separate house just to put all the Lego models in, I would. That would be fantastic. I love reading, and I actually also love drawing, but I'm very bad at it. So I don't think I'll ever show them to anyone, but I do love drawing and watching films and anything that is, hanging out with friends, whatever it is, that keeps me away from work. I tend to love. So yes, I have lots and lots of hobbies. One that I particularly wish that I could be better in was painting. I did pick up a paintbrush, but I gave up pretty quickly when I realised that just wasn't for me. But I do love going to art galleries and things as well. So lots and lots. And in terms of favourite books, again, that's like asking me which star in the sky is the shiniest. I have about 50,000, but I love anything by Roald Dahl. So Matilda, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, James and the Giant Peach, Danny the Champion. I'll read all of them again and again. Anything to do with Lord of the Rings, I'll read. I've also dressed up as Frodo. Absolutely amazing. Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe, Secret Garden. So many. So I can't choose again. I'm so sorry. Really lame.
That's okay. And I don't know, the young people might have picked up on my very excited face when you mentioned The Lord of the Rings.
Yay!
That would also be one of my favourite books as well. So yeah, and I'm loving the fact that you dressed up as Frodo.
No shame. Love it.
Yeah, it's excellent books. I do have a Middle Earth map dress myself, just to share with you. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. So I have the ears and the wig, and I made feet out of fur and things. So
amazing.
Yeah, and I have a cloak and an elvish brooch. We need to get together.
Yeah,
that's
we
going to be a fun party.
Together. Yeah.
Yes.
And yes, young people, definitely, you might want to start with The Hobbit with Lord of the Rings as well there. Just allow Onjali and I to indulge our own geekiness there. So now we're going to move on to the next section. And you may have Q&As throughout, and we'd love to, if you've got any other comments that you want to share. We're now going to move on to our workshop with Shagufta. So we'll just invite Shagufta onto the screen, and I will let her take the lead with this section of it, and I will help her and do anything that she needs me to do during this workshop. So Shagufta, over to you.
Excellent, thank you. I got so distracted from my workshop because I really enjoyed listening to that. It's fascinating hearing about the writing process of other writers. So thank you very much for that. So I'm going to lead a little bit of a workshop. Hopefully it's going to be fun. And we've addressed a lot of the kind of issues and concerns and questions we've had around anti-bullying, prejudice, kindness, what it means. And so what I really wanted to focus on as a starting point is that many religions, including Islam, including Judaism, talk about how kindness is very, very important. And there's a line particularly that both the Quran and the Mishnah say, where if you save one person, it's as though you've saved the whole of the world, the whole of humanity. And I love that, because it's about, if you do one kind thing for one person, it's like the ripple effect. And that's the same what we're talking about Anne Frank's diary. She did one thing, she made an action, she resolved to do something, and just the everlasting kind of effects of humanity reading that work and seeing the kindness, seeing the bravery and the courage is incredible. And I think maybe you've also come across things on social media where you have a random act of kindness, or you have paying it forward. These things are really important, and they really help the world to kind of be in a good, positive place. It happens to me sometimes where I'm really busy and I'm angry and I'm driving down the road, and somebody really kindly lets me go through and let me pass, and then I'm like, now I'm in a better mood. Actually, I should be a calmer person. So those things are brilliant, and I think we should be reminded of them. So I think Anti-Bullying Week is really good for looking at bullying, but it's also a really good way of reminding us about how we can be better human beings to each other. So I wanted to do a workshop which is kind of in a homage to the fact that we've just come through Halloween and Bonfire Night. I know you're thinking, what does that have to do with Halloween and Bonfire Night? But I'll explain to you. We're artists. Our mind does bizarre things. Just stay with me. So basically, I wanted to focus on the image that we have. It's a very familiar image. Whenever we think of Halloween, we think of a character with a very pointy hat, who has a very particular mode of transport. You're probably having a conversation already in your classes about who I'm possibly talking about. No, she does not drive a Tesla. She travels on a broom, and she is very well known and linked towards having a particular kind of pet with her. So it's usually a crow, but mostly we associate this character with a little black cat. So obviously I'm talking about a witch. And this is the story of how the witch met the cat. And I really thought about what kind of poem I'm going to share with you. And I did think maybe this, you're probably like year 5s, year 6s, you're a bit cool now. You're the oldest group in the school. And I did think maybe they're a bit too cool. Maybe they got too much street cred for this poem. But I think it's so much fun. And I think it's perfect for all the conversations that we are having. And this is 100% true. This is how the first witch met the first cat. I know this because I was there and I witnessed it all many, many, many centuries ago. You just have to trust me on that. And it's called The Wickedest Witch. And I'm going to read it to you first, and then we'll have a conversation in our classes with some exercises. And don't worry if you don't finish the exercise in this session. You all can also go away and continue it in your own classrooms afterwards. So, The Wickedest Witch. Once upon a time, and this is how all the best stories start, of course, there was a place called Southall Town that no one would ever visit. They said, watch out, there's a witch about, you don't want to go there. She's wicked and mean. Her face is all warty and green. She turns things upside down, the wrong way round. She kicks the flowers with her pointy shoes. She screams, she hisses, and she boos. Bibbity, bobbity, boo, the wing of a flea, the nose of a bat, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And poof. She's turned the library into a zoo. She's given the teacher a flu. She's made the dinner lady turn all blue, and she's put the reception in the loo, and the head teacher can only say the word moo. Oh dear. and she hates the lovely sunshine. She thinks the wet rain is just fine. She steals all the sweets. She's horrible to everyone she meets, and she screams and she hisses and she boos and she turns things upside down and the wrong way round, and they say, watch out. There is a witch about. You don't want to go there. She's always wearing an angry frown. And when anybody sees her walking through town, well, they turn and they run as fast as they can. And it went on like this for a very long time. And the town started to become lonely and dirty and full of grime. But the witch, of course, liked it like this. She thought it was heavenly, just bliss. The rubbish bins were full to the brim, and the gardens and the streets were looking very, very grim, and it looked hopeless. And who do you think could possibly save Southall town? Well, it just so happened one wet, miserable day, the witch's favourite kind of day, of course, a little black cat strolled into town. And the little black cat wasn't scared of no witch. She walked like she owned the place. She thought Southall town was just ace, until, of course, she bumped into you know who. And what do you think might potentially happen? Well, we know the witch is mean, so might be that it's not going to be a very good meeting. But like I said, our cat wasn't scared. She gave her whiskered cat's nose a twitch, and then she walked up to the witch and rubbed against her, and very cutely gave the witch a little wet lick. The witch jumped. She's not used to this. Get off me, she said. But the cat just tilted her head to a side, and she looked with her cute big eyes as big as cherry pies, and she purred the sweetest purr any cat could ever purr. Like, imagine Puss in Boots, but much, 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 much cuter. Like that kind of cute levels. Obviously, our witch is surprised because no one had ever been nice to her. And this was a strange new feeling. It made her heart go reeling, and you would not believe it. But our witch bent down and she picked up the little cat and stroked her shiny fur. And she gave the cat a kind of nervous, awkward cuddle because she's not used to cuddling people, so she made it look very uncomfortable. The witch felt all a muddle. These are new feelings, and the feelings made her feel giddy and happy. And guess what? It turns out that the witch could be pretty sweet. And she gave the cat toys and treats, and they became the best of mates, and they went on exciting play dates. And it turns out the witch just needed some kind, well, purrs, not words in this instance, purrs, and the occasional cuddle. And don't get me wrong, she was still mean because obviously she's a witch after all, and she's got a rep to keep. But now she had the most awesome witch cat team. What an amazing duo. And it just shows you that even the bad guys need friends. And that, everyone, is how this story ends. And that is the story of the witch and the cat. So this story really highlights that sometimes we might have people in our classrooms or in our friendship groups or families or after school clubs that maybe seems like they were a bit difficult, but we don't know what's going on with everybody. And I think if we can show kindness, then actually we're getting through, we're chipping away at something that's been built up and it's stopping people from maybe wanting to be nice. Like when I'm in the car and I'm more angry because I'm in the traffic, and then someone says, you can go through. And then suddenly I feel like I need to be a nice person and calm down. So it's about how we act, even though other people might not act how we want them to. It's about how can we be an example, exactly how Anne Frank talks about. How can we be that change? How can we be that sort of catalyst for making a better environment? And so what I'm going to ask you to do is, I think we've already had a conversation in our groups about kindness, or the times that we've experienced kindness, and the things that you can say to make people feel welcome and feel accepted. We've kind of got that great little image and map that we all contributed towards, and you probably have something written up on your board or your notes from your teacher. So we're going to create a kindness spell. And I'll allow your teachers to decide whether you should do this in pairs or groups, or maybe as a whole class you can do it. And obviously we had an angry spell in my poem, which went bibbity bobbity boo, the wing of a flea, the nose of a bat, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But we're going to make the opposite of a mean spell. We're going to make a kindness one by using some of the words that we've talked about on the board and the feedback that we gave. And we're going to talk about sort of include sentences or words or themes around issues of the impact of words. So I know some of you probably watched the film Wonder or are studying the book Wonder in your classrooms, and it shows that book is great. If you've watched it or reading the book, it's great because it shows you how important words are. So kindness is sometimes more than just actions. It's not just about kind of, I moved aside and gave somebody space. It's about how you make someone feel with your words. Maybe I'm biased. I'm saying this because I'm a poet and we love words, but it's true. Words are very powerful, and so is the impact of words on how they make people feel. So I want you to include in your poem a time when somebody said something nice to you or made you feel better about yourself, made you feel included, less alone, part of a community, and you can use some of the things that you've already contributed here. So in our pairs or groups, I'll give everyone sort of 10 minutes to start a poem that is going to aim for about 6 lines. So maybe 2 lines that will be a spell, and then 4 lines that will be a poem that you are going to be writing. So I know you're probably year 5s and year 6s, so you're pretty good at writing poems by now. This is, expert level of poetry. You could do 6 lines very easily. And I think if you're experts, you should be able to use rhyme, preferably rhyme that makes sense. And if you're real poetry experts, and I'm sure your teachers are looking at you all like, yes, you are, because I've been teaching you to be poetry experts, you can use some alliteration. And maybe you can have a conversation about what alliteration means. Maybe just confirm with your teacher that you listen to her when she's talking about poetry. But alliteration is when the first letter of 2 words are the same. So long, lengthy. Oh, I'm thinking of an animal that begins with L, which has completely popped out of my head. Terrible.
Long, lengthy llamas.
Yes, long, lengthy llamas, sneaky, slimy snake. So they're all beginning with the S letter there. Dopey dog. Those are alliterations because they both begin with the letter D or S in that instance. So that is what an alliteration is. So think about alliteration and rhyme in your poem. The final one I'm going to add, I know 3 is a bit much, but it's because it's my favorite word ever. And as a poet, it's very hard to have a favorite word, but onomatopoeia is my favorite word. And it basically means when something something is spelt and written exactly how it sounds. So the words bang, smash, wallop, dollop, crash. So whenever you think about reading comic books, they're full of onomatopoeias in really big text and big handwriting. I love onomatopoeias. I think they're really fun words because they're fun to say, and as soon as you say them, everybody knows immediately what you're talking about, and it reminds me of comic books. So we're aiming for 6 lines. We're going to do a kindness spell. You can begin it with bibbity bobbity boo or hocus pocus or the traditional bubble, bobble and trouble, and we're going to do just 4 lines of a kindness spell. So a little bit of kindness, a little bit of whatever it is you want to add to this spell. So I think 10 minutes of writing you should be able to do that in either pairs or in a group or as a whole class if it's easier. So I'm going to hand it over to the teachers at this stage. I trust you, teachers. You can do this. And students, I know you're going to come up with something amazing. We have 10 minutes, don't we?
Yes. Don't worry.
Okay.
We've got 10 minutes.
Okay, so I'm going to sit here for those 10 minutes and just have faith that work is going on in the background.
And I think we're going to get lines as they come in as well.
That would be amazing.
There's an ideas tab that you can use on Slido, folks. So any lines put in the ideas tab that has came up on your Slido, that would be fab. And I wonder, Shagufta, we just had a couple of questions that have came in from you. So just while our students are working away on their poems, We've got sort of a few comments and questions that have come in. I just need to scroll up because we've had quite a few in our. Someone's asked, what inspired you to write poems?
I think reading. So when I did lots of reading, I read amazing books by amazing authors, and I kind of wanted to copy them. So initially I was just like, that's so good, and I'm going to try it. And then the more I copied books and poems, I started to kind of find my own ideas and my own stories, and I wanted to sort of write my own version of things that I really loved. So the stuff that I really loved when I was growing up, I was very obsessed with, as you can tell by my Halloween themed writing, is Goosebumps. I loved all the Goosebumps. Like I would just read through them all the time. And I was very fortunate because R.L. Stine used to write so many books, just constantly there'd be a new book. And so gory, grisly kind of stories were I just loved them the most. I started off with fairy stories, which were very sweet with princesses, but then I found the grim stories, and they were really kind of fairy stories, but with a very twisted side. And yeah, that got me on the path towards the Goosebumps.
Oh, that's so lovely. Oh, we've had our first line come in there. I'm sure you can see that too,
Yes.
Shagufta. We've got Boom Babop Sicily Pop. I hope I said that right.
That's a great onomatopoeia. Boom Babop Sicily Pop. Great. Boom Crash Kaboom. Oh, I like that one. That's got a really nice rhythm to it as well. Boom Crash Kaboom.
Yeah. I think
great
Oscar, Oscar has said, say one kind word. Say one kind word in the kindness spell, which is really lovely.
That's nice. It's like hypnotizing someone by casting a spell on them to say one kind word. That's a great power to have.
Oh, and at the bottom, I don't know if you can see that, we've got a little bit of sugar.
And look, there's a line following: a little bit of sugar, a little bit of kindness. Oh, that is lovely. I think you do need a little bit of sugar in any kind of kindness. I think it's true. Lovely bobbly lee, boom crash bang, hocus pocus, soon you lose your focus. I like that one. Bop pop, likely spop. They're really fun to say. Can you see why I like onomatopoeias?
Definitely.
Bang, bing, boo. Bang, crash, kaboo. Bang, crash, kaboo. Great. These are fantastic. See, I love children's imagination much better than I could have thought of.
I was thinking that. I was like, we've got a little bit of spice, like so much better than what I could do.
Sugar here, sugar there. Close your eyes and make a wish from Alishba. Great. This one looks great. They even got a fire emoji at the end. Sham, kazam, bam. That is really powerful. Very, very comic book style. Oh, kindness crackles within the cauldron. Lovely. So we're really switching that stereotype on its head, because whenever we think of witches, we think of meanness. But actually, everyone just needs to be shown kindness, and then you get the sugar, then you get the kindness, then you get the happy vibes.
Lots of very happy vibes coming in. We've got bibbidi bobbidi bop. Put your heart in the pot.
I love that. That's great. Bibbity bobbity boo, a heart of gold for you. Bang, boom, pop. These are great. Okay. Pop, top, lop. I said it. I try and say that 10 times very fast.
Oh, that is a lovely line there from Elliot and Leo that's just came in. Boppity bop, we will curse you with compassion from the true passion.
Great, that's lovely. I've got the name Leo pop up again. Bommedy boom, you have some clues. A bit of pepperoni. Okay, so we're getting into some real ingredients here, aren't we? Bit of pepperoni.
We can tell lunchtime's coming up with that one, can't we?
These are great. Lamb ham. Oh, we're really getting into it now. Welcome one, welcome all. That's lovely. This idea of welcoming people. Hocus pick, you suddenly you lose your focus from our table. Piles of smiles. That's really lovely. So this idea of, like, we're both reading through the words and they're making us laugh. They're funny. They're great to say. Words are really, really powerful. So I'm really glad that we're looking at how we can use our words to make people feel positive and uplifted and feel part of a community. Because when you make somebody else feel good, guess what? You feel good yourself. A little bit of kindness and love.
Oh, these are lovely. And I certainly would invite the teachers who are getting these answers coming in from your class. We would love it if you would share them with us at the end of this. So I know that we're going to be sending you an email after this event with some links. So we will probably ask you in that email to share these poems, and we would love to share these on our social media and share them with Shagufta and Onjali as well, because I mean, you've seen from me and Shagufta there, we're both smiling away with all your various words. And I'll let Shagufta read out. We've got so many that are coming in.
Loads coming. This is great. So I just read that St. Giles sent one that said, "Be like a flower and bloom." I think I'm trying to remember it well. And I like that one because that's what my name means. It's a flower that's about to bloom. So you won me over. Bibbity Bobbity. Oh, they're coming in so quickly. Clouds.
So quick now.
A blob of fun, crash kaboom. I love it. Oh, this one's a great. Ibbity Bobbity Boo. This witch smells. Oh, goodness. She needs to find a spell that makes her kind, Ibbity Bobbity Boo. Yes. Bubble, bubble. This is hard to read because they're coming in so thick and fast. A little bit of sugar, the sweeter you will be. Yes. Bibbity Bobbity Boo, here is a gift for you, a gift of abracadabra do, potion so you can eat a stew. Sweet and sugar kindness is power, let kindness shower. Kindness means a lot. It really does. I love these. These are great. So what you can do, so you've got a real good selection here. So what you can do is in your groups or your pairs or as your class is maybe go away and write some really lovely little pieces that have maybe slightly more lines than the 6 that we've come up here, that have a lovely rhyming scheme, that include all of your great onomatopoeias. They're fantastic. Maybe look at alliteration in our poems and how do we make people feel welcome? How do we make people feel like they belong in our communities? I think especially now that we're back in school, we're back in the classroom setting, and we're maybe had lots of people who moved into the school, they've got new class members. How can we go from having been at home for so long and not seeing people and being on our own or being with just our very close family to now being around people and learning how different people work in different ways and how we can offer kindness, and kindness comes from us, and that makes us powerful because look, it's a spell. It's like casting a spell. It really is. So thank you very much. These are great. These are fantastic. Yes, I think we've got something there to take away, and the teachers can actually work on some great poems for their classes.
Yes, definitely. And definitely teachers share those poems with us because these are brilliant. And I actually see we've got one that's came in on a chat that we can see here that's higgledy piggledy shish boom bap. Take a moment, hear us rap. One kind word is all we need. Spread it far like sprinkling seeds.
Fantastic.
And folks, you're also testing myself and Shagufta with trying to pronounce all these words. You're definitely testing out lots of little almost tongue twisters here from you. So we're coming towards the end, folks. We've just got about 10 minutes left. So I'm just going to pull up a PowerPoint. We're just going to pull that up for you just now. And then I'm just going to ask both Shagufta and Onjali about this. So, of course, we're thinking all about the power of kindness and one kind word as part of Anti-Bullying Week this week. And being kind is a gift we can all give, and it can be more valuable than we realise. When we are kind, we can change someone's day, giving them hope and breaking the cycle of bullying. And here, as I wasn't lying when I said to Onjali that this is a quote that we use all the time at the Anne Frank Trust. And of course it is. It's Anne saying, how wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world, which I'm sure we can all agree now is such a lovely thing to think about. So just thinking of one kind word, and we asked all these young people for their one kind word and phrase. So Onjali, what one kind word or one kind phrase would you share with the young people?
Never underestimate the power of your smile. That's my one. I think it's the easy thing to do, and it's easy, as Shagufta said, if someone lets you in, lets your car in, it's such a small thing to that person, but it can change a whole person's day. Same as smiling, whether it's a refugee or a homeless person or someone at home who's having a bad day, or your sibling that you're fighting with, just pop out a smile and it will literally change the way the world feels for someone, including yourself.
And Shagufta?
I absolutely agree. I have written down here, so I see a lot of messages when I'm on social media that says smile, it's sunnah. So sunnah means that it's what the Prophet used to do. So you just do something as simple as smiling. I think when we think that we've got to do something kind, we think, oh, it's got to be really difficult. We've got to like build a whole charity, or we've got to go and do something, and we've got to go and clean the streets, and we've got to do. Actually, kindness can be very, very simple. It's about smiling at someone, but saying things like, hello, how are you? That can mean something really big to someone who maybe feels a bit isolated or lonely, or feels that they can't be seen. So I do go around saying hello to people, smiling a lot. Yes. In different cities, it's taken in a different way. In Bristol, where I used to live, everyone used to say hello and hi, and it's very friendly. And I think if we could all implement that and make spaces friendly, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, and I mean, again, Shagufta and Onjali put it so beautifully, and you're both right when you were both saying about, I mean, especially that driving, Shagufta. I felt that deep in my soul, that all that it takes is you're sort of in a bad mood while you're driving, and then someone lets you through, and you're like, oh, you're like the nicest person in the entire world.
Yes.
And obviously that's a sort of less serious one. With that one, but you're right, sort of, especially when we think about bullying has that effect of being so isolating and making people feel that they're really alone. That sort of one kind word, whether it's hello or how are you, or do you want to come play football with us, is just one simple thing that people can do. Now, we do have about 5 or 6 minutes left, so if anyone that's watching has any questions that they want to ask, and I see someone's already ahead of the game with this one, for both Onjali and Shagufta, we've got about just over 5 minutes left for you to pop these questions in before we finish. So we've had one that's just came in. I know Onjali, you spoke about experiencing bullying, and obviously this is quite a tough question to answer. And Shagufta, is bullying something that you've experienced at all?
I suppose like bullying looks different in different ways, and sometimes it could be that there's physical bullying where there's or we talk about verbal, or I mean, my day we didn't have cyberbullying because many centuries ago when I met the witch, obviously there were no computers around. But you also have bullying where maybe you feel that you are left out, and so it's not deliberate bullying, but there are people who just don't want to reach out to you and to include you in their games, don't want to include you in whatever it is, and I think then you feel isolated. So the effect is still the same as when you are being bullied, but when you're kind of being left out or excluded, you're left feeling lonely, and you don't want to go into school, or you don't want to spend time in that space. So I think it's really important that we include people. So when you said let's go and play football, that is really important. Asking someone to just come and play with you, if you're playing as a group, that can really change somebody's whole afternoon, whole day. I tend to books a lot, so I was like, if I can't find friends in the real life, I will find characters in my Goosebump books. But we want to all be part of a community, so it's really important that you reach out to people.
Yeah, and I think both Onjali and I had the same sort of turning to books when you do feel isolated. I just saw Onjali make the same face as I was, going, yeah, sort of sometime you do feel isolated and alone, and that's where books are great. And here's a question for both of you. A young person's asked, will you ever work together, Onjali and Shagufta, to write something? Or has this young person maybe just inspired an idea there?
I would love to. I'm a huge fan of Onjali's work, and I have 2 children, so they are both 10 and 8, and we devour your books. We absolutely love them. So when I found out I was going to be on here with Onjali, I was super excited. I'm a big girl fan.
Oh, well, ditto. I've just bought your beautiful poetry book for my 16-year-old niece. Her 16th is coming up. So I think it's a perfect book for her, and it would be a dream to work with you. Although I think you're far more the superior word, conjurer than I could ever be. I need a lot of editing, but you are just such a natural. It'd be amazing. Yeah, who knows? That's an amazing question to ask. It might have triggered something. See what happens.
Well done to that young person there. And someone said that they want to write or be a teacher one day. So to both of you, what does it take? What does it take to be sort of an author or a poet? And how do you handle the confidence? How do you sort of be that confident writer, be that confident poet and author?
Shagufta, would you like to go first?
I don't think you ever get really confident, to be honest. You're always nervous, especially when you write something new and you've got to take it out into the world and you're like, oh, it's my baby and I hope everyone's kind and nice. All the things we're talking about today. But I think the more you write and the more you believe in your character, and if you dedicate yourself, I think that's what Onjali was saying, is about going back and persevering. If you do something to your best, or you think, I couldn't have done it better than this, then that gives you kind of confidence in terms of, well, that is absolutely the best I could do. And the more you share it with people, more you create a community, and then you feel like, yes, there's a place for my stories, there's a place for my books.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't put it any better. And I think it comes with time. Give yourself time as well. Nothing comes perfect in the first instance. Every single artist, every single superstar, from Beyonce and Taylor Swift to every single poet, Benjamin Zephaniah, whoever it is that you love, illustrator, filmmaker, they will have been through so many hurdles which will have strengthened them and got them to know themselves better. It takes time. So confidence comes with time, and confidence comes with not giving up. So yes, everything that Shagufta said, and time, a little sprinkling of time.
Yes.
So we only have a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to have to sort of come to an end of our session today, our One Kind Word, our online learning event for Anti-Bullying Week. And firstly, on behalf of all the young people and on the behalf of the Anne Frank Trust, I just want to thank both of you for everything that you've shared with us today, and for coming along to our event. I've really enjoyed hearing from both of you today, and I'm sure all our young people watching have enjoyed that as well. And just for all the teachers watching, just before we come to a close, we will be sending you an email out after this event where we will be asking you to share your poems with us, so we can share them with Onjali and Shagufta. And we'll also be, if there's a few of you that haven't read any of Onjali's books, we'll also be sharing with you an order form should anyone wish to order any of those books as well. So I just want to bring this to a close by once again thanking Onjali and Shagufta, and thanking you all at home for coming along to our One Kind Word, the Anne Frank Trust's online learning event for Anti-Bullying Week. So thank you and goodbye.